Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Lark here. Today we're going to be talking about the Props ICO. These guys are making an ecosystem where digital media can flourish online. We're going to be looking at just what exactly that means, what the competition is, what the risks of investing in this ICO might be, all of that and more after a quick shout out to everyone who has been hitting that like button, guys, and of course everybody who has been subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit up down below to stay up to date with everything that is happening in the crypto space. Furthermore, this is not professional financial advice. This is just a dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Furthermore, this is an ICO. Please do your own due diligence and your own research before investing your own money. Investing in any ICO can be risky, so please be aware of those risks before you invest. And furthermore, the team at Props has reached out to me to do a sponsored review of their project. However, I have, of course, reserved the right to do an open and honest review, so let's get into it. Now, of course, you have to understand what the problem is before you understand how Props can be the solution to that problem. Essentially, what we have right now is online digital media is centralized. Surprise. They're looking to decentralize the process. And what's the problem with centralization anyway, you might ask? Well, if you have a centralized service, they can do things like dictate what kind of content actually gets published online. YouTube, for example, went through and cleared out hundreds of thousands of videos about the conflict in Syria. That is important public information. That is the public record, but they are a for-profit company. They don't care about the public record. They don't care about alternative points of view. They don't care about small content creators. None of that stuff interests YouTube. They are simply interested in what generates profit and what keeps their advertisers happy. These are important things to remember. Now, you create a lot of value as a content creator on YouTube. You bring people to the platform, you make them stick around. YouTube profits off that. The problem is that as a content creator, you really don't get very much of that back. A very, very small portion of ad revenue comes to most content creators. And look, you know, a lot of content creators do very well. Most of them not. Most of the profits do go to the top 1% of content creators because they're safe, they're able to drive ad revenue. Obviously, adpocalypse is a real thing that did happen on YouTube. It is continuing to happen on YouTube. It's sort of a slow, quiet massacre of independent thought on the internet. And I realize the irony, by the way, of talking like this about YouTube through YouTube, but it is the dominant media platform at the moment, but it won't be forever, especially if it doesn't change. Companies like YouNow, who are the guys making Props, other companies coming along, whether it be D2 from Steemit, for example, they are going to be serious competition. YouNow is the company behind Props. Now this is really important because they've made themselves into a very big player already, in particular the live stream video chat market, which is a market which is absolutely exploding right now. Currently they have 40 million users, which is of course huge. This provides an automatic massive base for the Props cryptocurrency when it launches, because these people from YouNow are going to be migrated over. That is a very, very interesting thing and does provide a huge potential for this project. Now, the really interesting thing about YouNow as well is that, in contradiction to companies like YouTube, they've been sharing the money around. They've been giving back to content creators, but also content creators are able to earn very directly on the platform as well. This idea is being taken farther by the blockchain, And people are so excited about what YouNow is doing with props. There's some really big investors on board, from traditional venture capital agencies to people like Philip DeFranco being an investor as well. So definitely a lot of interest in seeing props come off. So what exactly is props? Well, props is a blockchain ecosystem for digital media. This goes beyond YouNow. This goes beyond the Rise app, which we're going to be discussing in a few minutes. They're trying to create a whole ecosystem where basically you can be a stakeholder by being a props token holder. You can also be an independent developer. You can come in and build apps on top of props. Things like apps that will do ads or subscriptions, for example. And so that's all possible here, and it makes it a very nice idea. Now, the one thing that you do need to note, they are setting up a non-profit organization called the Digital Media Foundation, which is going to be the driving body behind props. How revolutionarily different is that from YouTube? How incredibly foresighted is that? That's awesome. I really, really like this fact that they're saying, hey, everybody can win here. Obviously, with the props ecosystem set up, that doesn't mean that, YouNow and through their Rise app, they can still make a profit. But the blockchain ecosystem will be a neutral place. And that is really cool, because that's what it needs to be. We need more stuff like this to free up our content online so that we can actually see the things we want to see, engage with the people we want to engage with, and do it in a way which is decentralized and free. Okay, it's time to talk about the Rise app, because this is going to be the first app which is going to be jumping on board and using the props ecosystem, which is going to be on the props blockchain. Now, obviously, it's an ERC20 token, so it's all going to be running through Ethereum, but it is going to be built using that idea of how are we going to engage the props token here, and what is the props token going to do. So the props token is going to provide you status inside the ecosystem. It's going to let you access premium features, for example, on the Rise app. It'll allow curation, compensation, of course. You see these digital gifts that are going back and forth here in the video. Those have real world value. Now, they are bought with fiat. They're trying to make the mainstream user experience as easy as possible for people who don't have any crypto background. And then those assets that are being sent and exchanged, those, for example, can be then exchanged for money later. Of course, they're an ERC20 token. That's what you get paid out in. Now, they're of course focusing on that virtual gifts market as well. This market is absolutely on fire right now. Virtual gifting is big, 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 big. Pepe cards, virtual kitty, Gifto. It is going down big time for virtual gifts right now. Now, they're calling this something media attention equals mining. Well, it's obviously not quite mining by any means, actually. But the concept is that you can earn continually by this exchange of digital gifts, mining your subscriber base, I suppose. Now, this Rise app is already rocking and rolling out there, which is really exciting news. So that means that as soon as the ICO finishes, it's launching. That is really, really good news. Now, the main idea here, as you saw in the video, it's about many-to-many video streaming. This is a really, really cool technology, and definitely something that when it actually launches, I personally will be looking into using, because I think it's really cool. How fun would it be to be doing a live stream but pull some of you guys in? I love the idea. I think it's really a lot of fun. You can pull people in, you can create separate rooms where you can have chats at, you can do all kinds of things. There's a lot of different interesting use cases for it. For example, you might be voting on something like American Idol, for example, or you might be doing an online auction. All these different things where you can have multiple people involved. You can even be watching a film with your friends on the Rise app. So that's all cool. Now, there's obviously, those are features that you don't need to pay for. If you want to sit and watch a film with your friends, well, that's cool. If you want to engage with influencers, if you want to advertise, if you're an influencer and you want to advertise to your fans, well, you can do that using the Props coins. So that is really, really cool. Really, there are a lot of ways in which this is going to be a fun user experience. The gamification of gifting is proving to be very, very popular. So while Props is the ecosystem, the Rise app is essentially the doorway, the first doorway, may I add, through which you will be reaching that Props ecosystem. So this is very, very, very interesting in what they're trying to do here. I really think that they've got a massive potential with their user base, with the current popularity of live many-to-many video streaming services, of the popularity of virtual gifting, all the right boxes at all the right times. Okay, it's time to talk about the team. Now, you can go and have a look through the different bios of the team here on LinkedIn, but these guys have really got a great amount of experience. YouNow is fully backing this project, which means that you have a big company with good revenue, a dedicated team, lots of tech staff. You don't have any gaps in marketing or tech or any of that. They've got it all, and they are fully committed to making this happen, to pulling this off, to creating that ecosystem, which is going to be good for them and good for business, and of course good for their content creators. It's a win-win for everybody, and this team is going to be the one to pull it off. Okay, it's time to have a look at the roadmap. So this is their timeline. Now, basically, we're seeing everything being brought out by the end of 2018. Now, it's non-definitive when in 2018 we're going to see things like the open sourcing of the Rise code, portions of the Rise code, anyway, coming out. There will be some developer APIs coming. Additional partners, of course, being brought to the ecosystem. Which partners are those going to be? Obviously, they can't give specifics at this point, but it would be really good to see some big partners being brought into the ecosystem. If we could see somebody like Vimeo or someone like that, that would take the Props ecosystem to the absolute next level. We have to wait and see who they can bring on board. So that'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Now, as well, they are going to be working on how to bring in governance privileges to this, and really working on developing that ecosystem as the year goes on. Nothing about what's going to be happening in 2019. So we'll see how they continue to develop as they do move forward. Let's talk about the supply schedule. So there are going to be 1 billion tokens, 1 billion tokens in total. Now, 200 million, 20% of the total, are being sold during the sale. You can see here how the inflation goes over time. Now, that's your 20% starting off. Within 2 years, half of the tokens will have been issued. Within 3 years, nearly 75%. That is some big inflation coming really quick, right basically as the ecosystem starts to kick off. So if you are an ICO investor, this is something that you do need to factor in. How will that inflation affect your ICO investment? Now look, if the price stays relatively the same to, how many people are demanding the tokens versus the supply coming in, well, you might see a consistent price. If too many tokens come too quick, you might see a drop in price. And of course, if there is simply massive demand from the YouNow community, then you might see actually that token value going up quite a bit. Now, of course, during the first year, there is a very small amount of tokens available. So that makes a really good potential for a quick turnover on this one. Okay, so how are the tokens actually going to be distributed? So as I mentioned, there are 20% being sold during the sale, 4% are going to advisors, 26% company founders, future employees, subject to a 3-year vesting period. Of course, that is really good because that means that they are going to be incentivized to stick around and make sure that they pull this whole thing off. 10% going to developer grants to help, again, bring that ecosystem up to get different things actually happening there, build that infrastructure. 40% will be rewarded for contributors to the platform. So twice as much as is being sold in the token sale. Now, some other things that you should think about the Ethereum network. Obviously, we have just seen a situation where crypto kitties have basically crashed to the network. Now, can you imagine a many-to-many video streaming service on Ethereum as it is today? We have to see Ethereum upgrade itself massively. Obviously, they are in the process of doing that right now. The solutions are there. They're implementing them. Will they implement them in time? Therein lies the question. We shall have to wait and see, but that is a potential risk that I would like you to be aware of as well. Of course, are people going to use the Rise app? I personally think they are. It seems like a really cool app and a really cool video streaming service, but it does depend a lot on people using that because it is going to be the first entry point for the Props ecosystem. That is something you do have to consider. If they can't make the Rise app work, it will, I think, reflect quite negatively on the Props ecosystem in that way. But to be honest, I really think that people are going to respond very well to the Rise app because it is cool, it's fun, and you have already this 40 million person user base from YouNow that are going to be pushed over to the Rise app. I think it really mitigates that risk, but it is something to think about. And the other thought is, what about the competition? Now, Gifto protocol is probably the biggest and most comparable competition to someone like Props. Now, they're slightly different. Props is really creating a digital media ecosystem. And that's different from what Gifto is doing. And yes, Props is bringing in digital gifting through the Rise app. That's cool. Whereas Gifto is really solely focused on digital gifting. So they're a bit different in that, even though they're both backed by companies that do live streaming video services, their end game is a little bit different. So kind of apples and oranges, but they're both fruit. You probably want to know, Lark, how can I get involved in the token sale? Well, it's a good question you asked. So if you want to get involved in the token sale, you got to come over here and you got to get registered. Registration is open for the pre-sale. If you are an accredited investor, I'm sure there are some of you guys out there, go to CoinList and click here. If you are a non-accredited investor, there will be a separate pre-sale held through Republic Crypto. So divide yourself into whichever category you fit into there. The total hard cap is $25 million, which, to be honest, really isn't that much considering how much excitement there is around Props, how many users they already have, how many investors they already have. I have a suspicion this will be one of those ones that will sell out fairly quickly. Now, it is 12 cents per prop, I suppose. 12.5 cents, actually, based on the 200 million versus the $25 million hard cap. So that's something to keep in mind if you do want to come over here and get invested in this ICO. Certainly an interesting project. I think we're going to continue to see a lot of really cool uses for blockchain like Props as the space continues forward. Let me know what you think about Props in the comment section down below, guys. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.